is Linda Lattimore. Good morning. We're meeting together for our first Coffee Connect to discuss issues around social responsibility and how we can all participate and all play together in this space and make sure that we have more proactive businesses. I've started an institute called Cross Sector Institute, which is about bringing together people that want to discuss these issues, giving them a chance to share their knowledge and their wisdom in programs that could be human resource programs, how to bring in great benefits programs to their clients, compliance programs, green initiatives, and everything else, because I think we need to all share our knowledge and our wisdom right now. I put together a little slide deck, and I'm going to just go through some of these because I'm a real visual person, but if you just called in, don't worry about it. You don't need to see it. I'll be talking about whatever's on the slide deck anyway. Some of it's just visual pictures, just because that's what I resonate with. So the first thing on understanding what corporate social responsibility is, what I'm going to do today is more of a broad brush. Okay, it's because the subject matter is so big and we're only going to take 15-20 minutes here. It's more an idea of what is corporate social responsibility. I'm not going to get real heavy in the details on particular areas of it because we can talk about those in the weeks that are coming forward. And if anyone wants to actually talk on here and do a presentation on here to others about something that's relevant to them in this space, that's absolutely something that we can do. So we're not going to get too much in the weeds today, although at the end of it, if you have a particular question, I will go ahead and put up my a phone link that you can make an appointment. Will just go on my calendar and we can talk about anything in particular. If you have any legal questions, I would say now is not the time to bring them up, obviously, because you know, there's no confidentiality here on this phone call. So save those for a personal time with me. So I think the thing that's confusing about corporate social responsibility is that everyone seems to think it has to do with a corporation, and it really doesn't. So I like to call it just social responsibility because we can be individuals and be socially responsible just as corporations should be socially responsible. And even if we're providing a service, not manufacturing a widget, there's all kinds of ways that we can bring it into our business and into our lives. So people talk about social responsibility as ESG programs, corporate social responsibility, social innovation. There's a number of words, all kinds of words that we use, but at the end of the day, social responsibility simply, corporate social responsibility simply means three things. One, in terms of responsibility, it's what is our effect on the environment and the well-being of other people. In other words, you hear about positive footprints and negative footprints. At the end of the day, it's how we affect those around us. How do we affect the planet? What are we doing? I mean, every time we do anything in our own homes, what is our effect on it? So that's the responsibility piece. The sustainability piece, the S part, is what kind of legacy are we leaving for our kids? Are they going to have clean water? Are they going to have a work life that is fulfilling to them? Are they going to have plenty of food to eat? What kind of health issues are going to arise? I mean, and are our businesses ones that are long-term businesses, or are they just short-term, just in it for the dollar? Are we really in it for all the stakeholders, our consumers and our investors and the folks that are working there? Is our business really conscious of being in it for the long haul? So that's the sustainability piece. And then ultimately, is it a values-based business as opposed to a value-based business? So, you know, historically, in terms of corporations, the only thing they could do was make money, right? I mean, that was the sole purpose of a corporation, was making money. There could be nothing about giving back to your communities. It could only be about making money. So that was a value-based business. Well, we're shifting into values-based, where we're beginning to understand that the values that you have and that I have, that each of us have, is now stepping up, and it's not equal measure with the value and the dollar piece, but it's certainly a heavy impact that's showing up. And that's what this corporate social responsibility is about, our impact to everybody else in all forms. This is not about philanthropy and stuff. You know, the legacy we're leaving to the future generations and the values within which we operate our businesses. So, like I said, it's not about charity, and it's not about philanthropy. It's not about sponsorships or cause marketing. You know, those, when you have those tags that say 10% is going to the rainforest or something crazy like that. When that first started out, that was actually pretty, we all thought that was pretty cool to go buy clothes that had a tag that said I'm leaving something to the rainforest or this school initiative. But it's kind of worn thin. People aren't getting attracted to that anymore. They're wanting to make sure that we're actually walking the talk in our business from the top all the way down to the bottom. It's no longer about the philanthropy piece. So the 3 Ps, you always hear about the 3 Ps of corporate social responsibility. They are about the people, whether it's your investors or your consumers or your employees, all your stakeholders. They're about the profit, because you don't have a business if you don't have a bottom line. You've got to have, and a good bottom line, healthy bottom line, you've got to have that. And it's about what we're doing for the planet. You always hear about the 3 Ps of social responsibility: people, profit, and planet. You know, what are we leaving behind as a legacy for those that come behind us? So I thought I would just talk a little bit about the history of corporate social responsibility, because an awful lot of people don't realize that this has been going on forever. This is not something that has just showed up that now we're all supposed to be socially responsible. I mean, I would say the first time it came up was during the transatlantic slave trade that was going on, you know. Up in that top right-hand corner, I had a little picture. We had all these slaves that were being brought over from Africa and West Indies and other places, and they were asked to work in the sugarcane fields and terrible circumstances. And eventually this slave trade created angst for a lot of people that had good hearts, and they began circulating pamphlets, because back there, you know, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have printers, we didn't have all that kind of stuff. So they were making up pamphlets and trying to get people not to buy this sugar anymore, because it was slave trade grown sugar. And as a result of this social movement, about 50% of the sugar sales dropped, which was huge. And that was about the first time that we began to see corporate social responsibility. It showed up in the Industrial Revolution. At that time, if you'll recall, everybody was really worried about children working out on the manufacturing floors and women putting in long hours. And you began to see a whole bunch of legislation that showed up for human rights because of the Industrial Revolution. All kinds of laws came in effect. You know, we saw it in the consumer movement when Ralph Nader started showing up, basically saying, you know, these cars, I don't remember what kind of car it was. It was a Ford or something. I shouldn't say that, but what kind of car it was. But anyway, they were unsafe at any speed, okay? They needed to, he brought in all kinds of consumer issues, and people began to say, oh, if I'm a purchaser, you know, I have the right to not be deceptively brought into purchasing something. I have the right to be safe. And so the whole consumer movement came from. This is also social responsibility. So it's moved from sugar and slave trades and industrial into consumer rights. And then of course, I would say the last big wave, which has gone into more of a compliance piece and transparency, has been with the indictment of all these CEOs of these companies, from Bernie Madoff to Tyco to MCI to Adelphia, obviously Enron. At that point, you know, people started going, oh my God, our investments are no longer safe as well, and we want more transparency and more disclosure. So this social responsibility, which moves from consumers to investors and to the way we run our businesses, is exactly what corporate social responsibility is. It's all about how we run our businesses, whether they're small, tiny individual sole proprietorships or our corporations today. So it's moved all the way through. So we've kind of gone from this ad hoc defensive position, where we were defending ourselves all the time to a very proactive shift in the way business is managed, and it's presenting itself to the world. And if everybody is not on board with this shift, they're going to be left behind for sure, because it's an absolute shift in the way business is showing up today in the world. There is, in fact, kind of like an international call to action. You're seeing it in investors. We now have what we're calling impact investors that are saying, we don't want to invest in this business unless we know that the stock that's in this particular portfolio, if it's a portfolio of businesses, is screening out things like perhaps they're not interested in tobacco or you know, anything that's going to be harmful to the planet or to a human being. They've got criteria for which they'll invest. And so these impact investors are now voicing the way they feel by choosing their stocks accordingly. We're seeing it with employees who are now saying, particularly this millennial generation coming in, that are saying, you know, I don't want to work like you did, Mom and Dad. I know my two kids are kind of like, I don't want to work the kind of hours you put in from law school on. I want to have some time in my life to do the things that I want to do. So we're beginning to see a shift in the way companies are showing up in terms of benefits for their employees. And with what I'm calling a looming talent gap in the next 10 years, with the boomers going out, we're going to see an awful lot more of that. We still have consumers who are exercising their voice by their purchases, kind of like ethical consumers. They're only going to purchase from companies that they, you know, admire and trust. And it's showing up in supply chain agreements because supply chain in these like manufacturing companies is saying, I'm not going to buy from you, vendors all the way down, unless you have compliance, green initiatives, and things that I'm not going to be put at risk anymore for. So the citizen sector is flexing its muscles through things like Twitter and Google. Word of mouth is what I always call it. Emails and blogs and Facebook. You see it all out on social media. There's now something called benefits corporations and B Corps, and they're different. And on another day, we're really going to go through the difference. But B Corps is a certification process that allows companies to say they've gone through this pretty strenuous assessment and that they meet all the requirements of it, and have also changed their formation documents to show that they believe in social purpose. And so that was sort of the first one coming out. That was very much a citizen sector movement saying we need transparency in our businesses today. So the citizen sector is coming up strong, showing, you know, demanding, not showing, but demanding that there's change. And like I said a few minutes ago, in the for-profit sector, we're beginning to see companies move from value-based business to values. I was giving a talk recently to a couple of different job clubs, people who are out looking for work, and we really talked about how do they align their values as company U themselves with the values of the companies that they want to align with to make sure that they stand a big chance of succeeding in the future. I mean, so values is a hot topic right now, and we all need to have those in at least our vision, mission, and value statements moving forward. I'm moving fast through here so we can open up for some dialogue here. So the nonprofit sector is kind of going the other way, right? So whereas the for-profit's beginning to say, I need values, what we're seeing in the not-profit sector is they realize that donor dollars are getting tougher and tougher, particularly as you can imagine with these last few weeks of one catastrophe after another, and a big push looking for money right now to help all these poor victims and hurricanes and earthquakes and fires and everything else. The not-for-profit sector is beginning to realize that they need to bring some revenue models into their companies. They need to find ways to actually make some money in addition to just asking for donor dollars. So it's interesting to see how the not-for-profit and the for-profit are kind of coming together in this very socially responsible but yet make money movement. So I would say they're coming together in the middle. And then the government sector, well, you're seeing all kinds of changes in legislation. There's all kinds of laws about human rights now. There's all kinds of reporting requirements now for social responsibility. We now have benefits corporations in 33 states, including Texas, that just passed it effective September 1, which it's a new entity. It's not just a certification process, but it's a new entity, just like we have C Corps and B Corps. And what they're saying is you get to finally put in your corporation that having a social purpose is okay, and you can allocate your dollars to something in addition to your business, something for your community. India, in fact, has a 2% rule right now, which 2% of, it's mandatory by law, 2% of your profits will go to some kind of corporate social responsibility initiative. You must have that, and it's a law in India now. So some of my clients didn't realize that they need to kind of look at that if they're doing business internationally. I mentioned that some of this is a result of the millennials, right? So this new generation that's coming in has an absolute heart to serve. I think the boomers that are exiting have a big heart to serve too, and they're trying to find new ways where they can leave a legacy of sorts. And so the marketplace is reflecting exactly what the millennials are seeking. If they're seeking transparency, we are seeing corporate governance. If they want to make a difference, we're seeing that pressing social issues are showing up in the companies to be solved. They want to work as part of a team, and we're seeing the market show up with partnerships between nonprofits and for-profits and government sectors. They want educational opportunities, so online education is becoming huge. Work-life balance, we're seeing flex time in companies. And they're looking for, in sustainable leadership, they're looking for salary equalization. They're kind of going, well, why do we make so little and the CEO makes $1 gazillion a year? They basically are looking for a healthier environment to work. And that's showing up in many ways that they're getting involved. And because they have the voice and the skill set to do it, it is going to change the way we do business going forward. So I have a little bit more on this presentation, then I want to open it up. And one is, why is this social responsibility important to each of you? If you have a business, like I say, whether it's one person or whether 500 or more, well, obviously, if you have programs for your employees and they're efficient and happy, what happens? Your productivity and the quality goes up, so you're going to make more money. And I think that's important. People stay, because it's very expensive turning over your workforce, as you know, and retraining. If your systems are in place for your manufacturing systems are lean and cleaner, you're probably going to have increased efficiency, which also equates to more profit at the end. Obviously things like brand image, right? You're going to have a better brand, as long as it's not cause marketing, as long as you're not just doing this stuff because you want to market yourself. It's because you really want to change the way you do business, because consumers and investors, particularly consumers, are pretty savvy. They are out there and they can Google everybody and everything about books, about the finances of the company, if the product's any good. They'll be loyal to you as long as it looks like you mean and you're doing what you're saying, and your management all the way down is walking the talk. I think we mentioned more responsibly manufactured products equal increased sales, higher prices. The other thing is that this generation coming in is very interested in innovation, right? They've grown up in a highly technical society. So one of the key drivers to getting them over to your company in this marketplace moving forward is making sure that you have a high degree of innovation and that you show it. You show it through your social media, and that can be through showing how you work through employer brands and teamwork and pictures. So you need to be creating this employer brand, which we'll talk about on another day, to show exactly how you can do that so you can compete effectively, because that's where they're going. You want to go where they're going, And if it's Facebook and they see that someone else is working at a really cool company and it shows up that way, then that's one form, but there's many other places that they're looking for work now, and it's not just on LinkedIn anymore. And then obviously compliance. So, you know, the more that we have stronger risk programs in place, risk management programs in place, the more interested investors we're going to have. So people are going to be more likely to invest in companies that they're don't think they're going to lose money on, like happened in Enron and other places. They want to know that there's a strong risk management program in place so that they can come in and you know, feel secure. It takes a village. It's going to take each one of us every single day in every facet of our business, not just in times of disaster. I've been so proud of what I've witnessed in Houston the last few weeks. I've had many friends there that have had very serious circumstances, homes flooded away, water up to the ceilings, rooftops, everything else. It's been heartbreaking. And I know the same thing's going to show up here in Florida for many, but it's going to take all of us, and it's more than just writing a check. It's going to be, how do we run our businesses? How do we show this social responsibility out there? And what I want to do, what I really want to do is try and help everyone create a business that they're proud of in terms of the give back component. And I want to be available to everyone in any way that I can to do that. I just happen to love this saying that, you know, the Dalai Lama said, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Having been somewhere in a tent in Africa where the only mosquito that was around was inside the tent with me, I totally get their impact, but we can't do it without you. So before I open it up here, I just want to say in the coming weeks, we're going to be talking about social responsibility strategy and how to weave it into your business, how you define your value proposition, what your other DNA is. We're going to be talking about special purpose business entities. I've had a lot of people coming to me lately asking me about B Corps and benefit corps, employer branding, how to walk the talk. There's new conversation about millennials wanting to be intrapreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, and how you can set up programs like that in your business. Perhaps how you create signature partnerships with a nonprofit, so it's more than giving them money, you actually have a partnership with them, and creating cultures of innovation and a whole bunch of other things. And what I'm really looking for from you guys is conversation with, tell me what you think we should be talking about as well, so we can get this community together, figuring out how we can do better than what we've done, and not just be focused on all the news, which is exhausting every day, but really being focused on what we can do in our own businesses to make them more, to some extent, heart-centric too. I'm going to give you guys a text number for people that are on the call. What I have is I've set up some just 20-minute times if anyone has particular questions about what they can do in their business or personally. And I'm happy to get on calls with anyone on these times. And so there's a bit.ly link that's on here, but I'm going to give you a text number if you're on a call and you want to jot it down. If you text it in, all these resources like our Facebook and How to Coffee Connect and all these other places that you can join us, blogs, and staying in touch with this group, because I want you guys to get to know each other. The text number is 44222. So it's 44222. And then you would just text that number and you would put stay connected. STAYCONNECTED. And what will come back to you is these links in ways that you can get in touch with me as well.